Brett Hull in it, who even said, yeah, I wouldn't be the player I am today if it wasn't for Tony Twist and Kelly Chase watching my back. And, Wayne Gretzky wouldn't be that way if Marty McSorley wasn't there for him.
Yeah.
Yzerman had Probert, all those guys like that. Like that, and that's true. That's true to a point. Like, what I thought was really, and I kind of forgot about it, when Gretzky was traded, he said, well, if you trade me, you're trading McSorley with me. So McSorley went to Los Angeles with him. Los Angeles didn't want him. Like they didn't care about Marty McSorley. They wanted Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
But it was that bond. Like he knew that he was going to watch his back, and if anything happened, well, they're going to have to answer to him.
Yeah.
And like Sidney Crosby, has not had that. I would think I can't even think of maybe the toughest defenseman that they've had playing for them. They had Maxime Lapierre for a little bit. Not a tough guy, not usually a fighter, but a tough guy, a big guy. They could have groomed him into that. He ended up here in St. Louis. Another one that ended up here in St. Louis would be Robert Bortuzzo.
Yeah.
I think played 1 or 2 years with him, and they could have groomed him into that. But maybe that's their MO. Like they don't want to groom that big physical defenseman. I mean, they're not a hugely physical team.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of teams try to play to their image, and kind of that they're. It's like, this is what the type of team that we are. Like, I don't know, you look at the Raiders. Raiders don't go out there and try to draft the fanciest people. They go out there and find people with attitudes. And
well, not a lot of the Raiders. They haven't drafted anything good in a while. No, I get what you're saying. And then that's like going back to the early, 70s or, with Dave Schultz and the Philadelphia Flyers, where they literally said, well, if everybody's going to have those 2-3 guys that are real mean, let's get a whole team of them. We're tired of being pushed around by St. Louis. And that's where that whole thing started, when St. Louis literally just came in, beat them up on their own ice, went into the crowd, beat up fans, like they beat each other up, and they got tired of that. And I mean, playing a big physical game, you're gonna get tired of that. But and more importantly, I think I'll use Sidney Crosby as an example. But say you play on the Penguins, someone hits Crosby and hurts Crosby. Who's taking notice of that and doing something about it? You know what I mean? Like you have to have that guy on your team.
You can't,
albeit a skill player, whatever. There's got to be that person that's going to take that lick. That's going to answer back.
Yeah, you can't just be a team of a bunch of dudes that, okay, you hit my star player, I'm going to skate up to you and hold you back while my player is getting looked at and do nothing while you're chirping.
Exactly.
They're like, at some point they have to, like, one player. Yes, all 4 lines are crucial. Find a guy that has the ability to be an efficient player, but that's also going to protect your teammates.
Well, I mean, that's a big thing with Ryan Reeves, who plays for the Blues. He knew and he saw, I'm going to have to get better than just hitting people. I'm going to have to learn to skate faster, shoot better. My overall game's going to have to be better, or I'm not going to have a place here. And especially over the last offseason, he worked on things like that. He worked on things like stick handling, handling the puck, keeping his head up while skating, skating in general, being faster. And now he's that tough guy that's going to back you up, but is a good, viable 3rd, 4th line player. For us, he's a 4th line player, yes. But he's that niche role 4th line player that we need. I mean, we also have Brodziak, who's physical as well, but he's not quite. He's not going to put in the dirty work and do it like Reeves would. I mean, and like you have your defensemen that do it too.
Yeah, you get like I mean the standouts of the Blues. I feel like right now are Reeves and Bertuzzo. They're willing to go fists against you.
I would put Reeves. I would go Reeves, and then I would go Edmondson, Bortuzzo. I think Edmondson, being very young, if he wanted to get more physical, he could. He's been in a few fights. I mean, he was in a fight his first NHL game. So, I mean, he could do it as far as a defenseman. But the game is changing. And when they opened up the ice in the early 2000s and made everything a faster game, it wasn't east-west anymore. It's more north-south now. It changed the game. And like they had in Ice Guardians, it said, with making the game faster, people are hitting each other faster. And, that's causing concussions.
Yeah.
Fighting isn't causing concussions.
Yeah. It's like how they put it in the movie. It's the complete opposite of what people are trying to say, where it's 95% fighting and 5% hockey. It's actually 95% hockey and 5% fighting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the doctor's name that they had on. But he said, I get more cases where guys got hit in the stomach and got a concussion over than someone getting punched in the head. And that itself is a big... I won't say it's a red flag because it's a contact sport. It's noted that hockey players get hit 30% harder than football players.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. There's not a lot of disbursement.
No.
When you get like hockey pads are completely different than football pads.
Well, they're making them into weapons now, damn near.
Yeah, and it's like you see the shoulder pads and that they're wearing now, like they basically have plastic covers over them, like football pads do, except they're a little bit smaller. But you hit somebody where you hit somebody's body. It's like rugby.
Yeah.
Where there's no disbursement of that energy through the pads. It's all through the body. And so that's creating issues with hitting somebody. So like they're either gonna have to like chill out on upgrading the pads and degrade them, or
I think
they're gonna have to skate out on the ice with a full body of body armor. Damn. Well,
I think it's funny you mentioned that. We'll scale everything down. I think that like the league has been in a crunch to where goal scoring has been down. So they're like, well, let's size down the goalie equipment. Next year it's going to be a little smaller. It's going to be like the size and protocols, everything going to be different. Well, why not apply that to skaters as well? Like make the shoulder pads a little smaller. Shin guards, whatever, elbow pads. One thing is like, elbow pads out of everything. Elbow pads.
I understand, like, there's going to be a 100-mile-an-hour galvanized piece of rubber flying at you. Keep your shin guards the same. You're not going up and roundhousing somebody unless you're chopping their head off with your skate.
Yeah,
which is pretty ridiculous.
Anyways.
So you can keep your shin guards the way they're at, but like there's like stuff that you can get to like cover your ribs and everything, and it's like start doing that and downgrade a little bit with the pads, make them tougher instead of putting hard covers over them. Like, just who cares? Pay the extra money to change out your pads every 5 games.
I mean, something, yeah. I mean, it shouldn't. Protecting players shouldn't be a problem.
Mm-mm.
And it shouldn't cause problems.
Right.
And that's how I see that. And I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I don't know. I mean, even if it's not best for the league, is moving goalie pad sizes down better for the league? Yes. It's also might be taking away from their protection. Out of anybody, a goalie needs to be protected more than anyone.
It's like, okay. Not saying that there is a certain degree of fear in the game, but you shouldn't have to take away from a goalie's protection. Like, it should be the players that the forwards and defensemen changing up their gear a little bit. I
agree, but I don't think in today's NHL, I'm not going to say they're not worried about player safety because that would be a total lie. I don't think that it's on their list. I'm sure it is as far as concussions, but I don't think the safety of them trying I don't think making things smaller for the player is on their list of things to do.
Right.
And maybe it should.
At least making some type of a difference. And hopefully this movie makes a difference, at least through the eyes of the higher-ups in the league, to try and figure something out.
No, I mean, I agree. And it was put out there yes, it had NHL current, former talent in it, but I mean, it wasn't NHL mandated.
Yeah. And
I think that maybe by putting this out, it's an alarm to the NHL. But I mean, it was also, it's eye-opening, too. It's, McGrattan coming out and saying, yeah, I had a drug problem. I had an alcohol problem. Yeah, I had that because I was young and I was partying. Didn't have anything to do with the fact that I was getting hit in the head every night. I did it because I was just a terrible person for a little bit. And I think that's a lot of the things like the Svatos death came out as an overdose. Bogard was an overdose. All these kinds of different deaths that happened inside the NHL. Wade Bollock, all those. It didn't have anything to do with fighting. And it didn't have anything to do with being an enforcer. Because hockey's only one part of their life. They have things going outside of their life.
Yeah, it's like with any sport. You're going to have people that have addictions. And they're fighting that along with trying to be a professional athlete at the same time.
Which is hard to juggle for anything. It's like juggling your personal life with everything else. And they're doing it on having star status and having to juggle their personal life.
Yeah. I did like the fact that they tried to capture the outside image of an enforcer, and by what I mean by that is like the type of people that they are outside of hockey, what they're like outside of the rink. And I feel like that's very important for people to understand, is that these guys aren't... It's like you're more likely to find an enforcer that has a better moral and ethical compass than somebody who's, say, a star player.
Well, yeah, but they are, and yes, exactly. But they've all in the documentary itself. I mean, they said, well, yeah, I've punched many of these guys in the face, sometimes multiple times tonight, but I went out and had a beer with them. And it's just that whole, hockey has a camaraderie over a sport that no other sport has. And it's a respect that no other sport has. But at the same time, it's that unwritten rule. You know why you did it, and you did it, and these were the consequences. And then you go on your merry way, and that's the end of it. If there's not a bad blood, you might fight the guy 3 or 4 times over a season, 10 times in a career, whatever, over that. But it's a respect thing. It's a battle. And you're fighting for your team. It's not a one-on-one personal issue. And I think people don't understand that. I think people think, oh, well, that's all he does is just beat people up. That's what he does. He's not good at anything else. He just beats people up. Yeah, but if he didn't beat people up, if he didn't hit that one person, his team could be a lot worse without him. Somebody would be taking liberties on his team if he wasn't there to back them up.
Yeah. I feel like it's something that